Welcome, witches. How are you be? This is our episode. This is season 2, episode 2 of our Witch Whispers podcast. My name is Anya, and I'm with Sarah and Witchery.
And I'm Debbie from If the Broom Fits.
And we have a special guest that is joining us today.
I'm Shannon, also with Sarah and Witchery.
All right. So today's topic is going to be elements and elementals. Now, when we're talking about elements and elementals, there is a difference between the two, especially if you're doing paranormal investigation. Okay. And we will talk about that towards the end a little bit. But please know that when we're talking about elementals, we're talking about spirits and entities that align with a specific element. Is that, am I saying that right?
Okay. Absolutely.
So, Debbie always writes out these really wonderful things because she is so well prepared and I so am not. Shannon knows about that. Okay. So in many magical practices, many paths draw from the natural forces that shape our world. One of the most accessible and powerful forms of magic are the elements, which revolve around connecting with the fundamental building blocks of life: earth, air, fire, water, and spirit. Each element holds distinct energies and associations that can aid in spell work, meditation, rituals, and even personal development. So let's go through them one by one. We're going to go through first is the earth.
I'll take over.
Okay.
Throw your stuff in as you will.
All right.
Earth is north. It coincides with north. Stones, soil, plants, representing stability, grounding, and physical world.
It also represents winter. And that's another thing when you're using the elements that you can look at too, is the season it relates to.
So work with earth if you want to feel more grounded or seek stability in your life. Meditate on the energy of earth. Take off your shoes, walk barefoot, or sit down on the ground for best results.
Put that root chakra on the grass.
Mm-hmm. That means put butt on ground.
Yep.
Air. Air is not my friend. East, breath, wind.
You are an air
Did
sign.
I say
You
that
are
out
an air
loud?
sign. You said that.
Because
that was your outside voice,
like
Debbie.
Wind.
Yeah, I'm not real big on
It
wind.
irritates me.
Messes up my hair.
Do you see this today? I don't even know why I went in the bathroom. East, breath, wind, clouds, and represents intellect, communication, the mind, and emotion. Wait, sorry, wrong. No, emotion is not.
No, that's water.
I was just.
It also represents spring.
Mm-hmm. If you're seeking inspiration or mental clarity, meditate with the energy of air. You can work with air by using incense, feathers, or wind-related rituals such as today.
Today meaning March 28th.
And it's blowing
It is
out
blistering
there,
windy.
which is why I'm in here.
Right.
Because I don't care for.
What do you think about air, Shannon?
Well, as an air sign,
It's good to breathe.
It's good to breathe,
It's
right?
very
It's
good to breathe.
oxygen helps.
Yeah,
I
right.
like it.
But no, I'm very intuitive, and I think that comes from my connection with the element of air.
Could be. All right.
So when's your birthday?
May 30th. I'm a Gemini.
Okay, just checking.
I'm the other air sign.
In the room. In the room.
In the room. Yeah.
We're missing an Aquarius, then we'd have all of them right now.
And so if we really want to mess with Anya, we just, because she's fire.
Fan that fire, baby. Fan that fire. I will lose my shit.
Speaking of fire, is
Dun,
next.
dun, dun.
And that is represents south and
Passion. Lust.
No.
Oh, sorry.
Season.
Season is summer.
Thank you. I was trying to
Summer.
let's see. Anyway, I said I think you can figure that one out. It represents passion, transformation, and willpower.
Mhm.
Work with fire if you want to ignite your inner drive or invoke transformation. You can do this by lighting candles, burning herbs, or visualizing flames.
And once again, because we don't want to get sued for
Mhm.
liability purposes, if you are going to work with the element of fire, please be careful. Look around. And Shannon, what do I tell my students?
Look up.
And why do we look up?
Because you don't want to be the witch on the 6 o'clock news who set her house on fire.
Doing a ritual. So,
I actually had a student one time who was working with fire, and she put everything in the bathtub.
Was it like a cast iron clawfoot bathtub?
No, it's just a bathtub.
yo, that's a good way to crack porcelain.
With the curtains drawn.
Yeah. So she was the witch on the 5 o'clock news, huh? Just saying.
Yeah. Anyway, it was funny. I gave her that Debbie look.
Oh, yeah.
Girlfriend, look up, look down, look
Seriously?
around. Don't set
The eyebrows
crap
of
on
judgment,
fire.
yes.
the
I'm really
judgment.
good with them. Okay, next is water, which is west. Aquatic animals, plants, and the liquid itself represents emotion, intuition, and flow.
And the season is fall for water, which is why Scorpios are so damn intuitive.
Yep. And then after that, spirit. A lot of people don't include spirit.
No, they don't
with
when
the
they think of
elements.
elements.
Yeah, which I have no understanding, but
Well, and that's where the elementals come from.
Mhm.
Those spirits, when you're watching those paranormal shows and they're talking about, well, there's an elemental here. Yeah, because the elemental was made by whoever didn't want, for example, the First Nations or the Native Americans had their land stolen from them. There's a lot of land that's cursed and have several elementals that reside there to protect the earth. And that was from like a group dynamic wanting their burial ground to be safe.
Mm-hmm. So spirit is life force, deity, represents the unification of all the elements, including the divine or cosmic energy.
The universe that unites us.
Work with spirit is often called upon in meditation, visualization, or deep trance work. Focus on connecting with the divine or higher self.
Well, and also the spirit is who we call in when we're doing ritual. When we call those elements or the quarters, which are also elements, when we call those quarters, most witches will also, when they're done calling those quarters, will also call to their spirits, their deities that they're working with. So, for example, me, I call on Sekhmet and Ptah or Sekhmet and Thoth. And so because of that, those are the spirits that I work with. But that's just in ritual form. I work with ghosts. I work with elementals all the time.
So ever feel like nature has a personality? Like the wind whispers secrets, the ocean soothes your soul, or the earth grounds you when life gets too chaotic? That's because nature isn't just a backdrop. It's alive, filled with energy, and at the heart of all of this are elementals.
Yep.
These beings are the raw essence of the four elements: earth, air, fire, and water, shaping the world around us and working in harmony to keep everything balanced. Elementals aren't just mythical creatures from old folk tales. They're real forces, energy beings that embody the spirit of their element. Earth elements build the bones of our world. Water elements flow through every stream and ocean. Air elements dance in the wind, and fire elements spark change and passion. They're always present, always working, whether we notice them or not.
And they're also a part of our bodies.
Mm-hmm.
If you think about it, air is the oxygen we breathe. Water is the blood that runs through our veins and our intuitiveness. Our fire is our will, and passion. And water is also our intuitiveness and our emotions as well. Earth is our ability to stay grounded and be like rooted in what we're doing.
And work with everything.
And to work, and be stable.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So the elementals, earth elementals, are gnomes. That's just what we call them. They are not little dwarves running around that you pat on the head or whatever. No.
Gnomes.
Gnomes are the unseen caretakers of forests, mountains, and underground realms. They infuse the soil with vitality, ensuring plants grow strong and ecosystems thrive. Every stone, every tree, every tiny sprout carries their touch. Their energy is the dense and grounding, giving us stability, patience, and resilience. When we feel connected to nature, when we walk barefoot on the earth, touch a tree, or hold a crystal in our hands, we are in a way connecting with the gnomes. If you feel scattered, anxious, or disconnected, gnomes can help bring you back to the center. Spend time in nature, work with stones and crystals, and focus on appreciating the physical world. They are always present, quietly supporting life itself, ready to lend their energy to those who seek it.
Are there other ones in there for elementals for the earth?
I just put down gnomes
Okay.
because I figured
'Cause-
that was something that
Because
they could-
brownies are also earth spirits.
Yeah, anything like
Other earth spirits, dwarves, and I'm not talking about little people. I'm talking about the idea of what a dwarf did. They were steel makers. They metals. And metals come from the earth, so they're considered earth elementals. Dwarves, brownies, gnomes, anything that would be earthbound. Dryads. You were saying trees.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
dryads would be other earth spirits as well.
I don't know about you, but when I've worked with them, they do tend to be a little grumpy.
Yeah, well, because they're grounded.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah, and you ask the question and it's like, you should have known that. Yeah, they do tend to be a little grumpy.
Well, and if you think about
So-
people who have earth signs, it kind of fits.
Like,
What, you don't have an
Some
earth
of
sign?
our
I don't know why you're
listeners
looking at me for
might
that.
be earth symbols.
No, I love my earth, people. Don't get me wrong. Do not get me wrong. My moon is in an earth sign, so I do have some earth in me, but earth can be very curt. Not because they're trying to be curt.
It's definitely no nonsense.
Because, yeah, they're all logic. They're looking at that, right,
Yeah.
Shans?
yeah, the look I was giving you was more because I'm married to and live with one who's very, very earthy.
There you go. So, see, you would understand it more than I would. Even though my moon's in earth, I'm not very earthy. I'm more fire, because fire.
Mm-hmm. So water elements are undines, like mermaids and sea creatures. And
Elementals. Hippocamps.
Mm-hmm.
The horsey water horse. Poseidon's familiars.
Seahorses.
Seahorses. Turtles. Whales,
Anything,
fish, stingrays.
Yeah. Water elementals are its flowing lifeblood. Undines, the spirits of water, are the keepers of rivers, lakes, and oceans, streams, all of that.
They're the ones that throw the trash back at us.
Mm-hmm. They are fluid, ever-changing, and deeply emotional, moving with the tides of both the physical and the unseen. Think of the way water carves canyons over time, or how the ocean can be both tranquil and fierce. Undines embody this duality, gentle yet powerful, calming yet overwhelming.
And you said mermaids. There are also sirens.
Mm-hmm.
There are also silkies. Those are a Scottish water entity. The silky. They're actually... There are some cultures that believe that silkies are actually what is considered a mermaid. Because when the silky is a seal and she comes up on land, she loses her pelt and becomes a woman.
Mm-hmm.
And if the fisherman grabs her pelt, he can keep her locked on land for good luck. Especially if they're a fisherman.
Not for the silky.
Yeah, not for the silky, but...
To attune to undines, spend time near water. Immerse yourself in a natural body of water if you can, or simply listen to the sound of rain, or as in Anya's case, go out in it. Pay attention to your dreams, as undines often communicate through the subconsciousness. When life feels stagnant, call on their energy to help things flow again. They are always moving, always shifting, always ready to help us dive deeper into our own emotions and intuition. Yes, ma'am.
Now, if you're going to work with water for a ritual, let's talk about that for a moment, shall we? I was at a ritual once. It was a fall equinox, and I love my community. We had a very powerful witch calling west to the element of water. And in this call, they're like, wash clean all of our sins. The tents floated away on the rivers from the torrential downpour we had for the entire weekend. So when we're working with water, you want to be very careful that you are gentle mists, and you don't want to wash away anything, because if you ask for it to be washed away, I can guarantee you are going to get a hurricane, because that's pretty much what was called at that ritual. And from then on out, anytime we have rituals in the community, everybody's like, so and so is not allowed to call water. And then gives them a look like, do you remember? Mm-hmm. And I'm not shitting y'all. The tents floated away.
Were your sins gone?
No, but the electricity was. But the electricity did. We had to cook over a fire. My poor husband was running from side to side on the lodge trying to make dinner over an open fire because there was no electricity, because it had washed away all of the ick.
Be careful what you ask for.
Yeah, right? Always be careful what you wish for.
Everything in moderation. Yeah.
Yup. So be careful when you're working with these elements that you word it.
And I think we've talked about that before. Word things, carefully.
Words have power. That's why we call them spelling.
Air elementals are sylphs, like fairies.
Mm-hmm.
I
dragonflies.
Yeah, I count like fireflies and stuff. For me, fireflies are kind of air and fire.
Mm-hmm. Well, and anything that flies. When I'm calling up my ritual circle and I'm calling to the quarters, when I see the air quarter, I'm seeing dragonflies and birds and hawks, and those are what are picking at the ick, trying to get into my circle while I'm working,
Also feathers.
Yep, feathers. That's a real good representation.
Clouds.
Yep.
All of that kind of thing. Anything pretty much in the sky.
Yep.
If you've ever felt the wind pick up right before a storm or been struck with a sudden idea out of nowhere, you've had a brush with the air elementals. I usually get my best stuff in a storm.
Yep.
Sylphs, the spirits of air, elusive, quick, and ever-changing. They are the invisible messengers of the sky. Also invincible, probably.
Yeah, they like the whole. I heard giggling. Yeah. That's right.
Moving through clouds, breezes, and gusts of wind, carrying thoughts, ideas, and inspiration wherever they go. Sometimes I count like muses. Too,
oh yeah, absolutely, because it's thought. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Are we still on air?
Yeah.
Or do you still have more to read?
Just a little.
Okay, go for it. We'll do it at the end.
Connecting with sylphs is as simple as stepping outside and letting the wind play with your hair. That is the reason I don't like going out. I'm just saying. Pay attention to the air around you, the way it moves, the way it feels. Breathe deeply and allow yourself to clear your thoughts. When you need fresh ideas, a shift in perspective, or just a little mental clarity, call on the sylphs. They are the breath of life, always moving, always present, waiting to lift your spirit and expand your mind. Or, in Cookie's case, snoring.
Yes. Now, in the sylphs, that also, not only does it do fae, it's elves as well, because they are very wisdom-based. They're very in their head a lot. Shannon, I know that you've worked with fairies and seen fairies for a while. Do you have anything you want to add about the fae?
I've seen them all my life, but I guess the thing that I like to remind everyone is they don't necessarily look like Tinkerbell.
Right?
They don't act like Tinkerbell.
Yeah.
They're not sweetness and light and unicorns and puppies.
Well,
I think gnomes and fairies
Yeah.
are like the two that are the. I don't want
to. Most misunderstood.
How do I put this so that it doesn't come back on me? They're not wicked, but they're definitely
mischievous
little stinkers.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Now, with the air, with the fairies, if you're going to work with the Fae or the Seelie, the Tuatha De Danann, which is the Fae race, the fairy race, you really do want to be careful. They do, like you said, they are mischievous. They will take your stuff. Shiny, they'll steal it. If you're going to work with the Fae, know how to behave with them. You have to be very respectful.
Gifts are
mandatory.
These,
but for the Fae specifically, gifts are mandatory. Leave out now. Remind you, if you have pets, you want to be careful. But you leave out some milk and honey for them. Chocolate, they love chocolate. The more expensive chocolate, the more favors you will get from them. If you give them offerings and then stop giving them offerings, you're going to lose shit. And it's because they're basically keeping it. My car keys went missing once. And I actually had to do a spell where I locked all the fairies down until I got my keys back. It took about 30 seconds. And all of a sudden, my kids found my keys.
Yeah.
And of course, they were under the couch around the corner. Well, I'd hung them up on the hook the night before. So nobody had touched them. So I knew the Fae had taken them. But when I released them, I had to leave them a gift of very expensive chocolate because I had imprisoned them until they gave me my keys back. And so as my way of saying gratitude, don't ever say thank you to a fairy. It is contrite. People say it all the time without meaning it. So when you're talking to a fairy, you want to say, to show my gratitude, to express my gratitude to you. You don't want to simply say thank you, because to them, it's like nowadays we go walk up to a person, hey, how you doing? And then walk away. You just asked a person how they're doing, and you didn't even give them time to say, I'm doing well, thank you. Right. Or,
it's
wow, my life is crap right now.
It's just what people say.
There's no meat behind, there's no feeling, there's no empathy behind it. And Fae are very, very connected with that.
And if you notice, if any of you have been to my shop, you've probably noticed the glitter out front. Everywhere. It's
Raver scabies.
I go out usually every other day and leave glitter for the Fae.
Yep. And I have little things in here that, like, I'm given bracelets. And even though I love to wear them, my wrists don't like them. So I let them play with those. Those are thems. I keep them on my altar. And they get to play with them and do whatever. Sometimes they'll tell me to put them on. But you should always have something for them to feel like.
And I think that kind of goes with any of the
absolutely.
elementals. If you're working with them, leave them a gift.
Yeah.
Appropriate gift.
Well, it would be the same as other cultures in working with your ancestors. You didn't just go and ask favor from your ancestor. You took them gifts. You visited with them. You meditated with them. And so in America specifically, we don't honor our dead the way other cultures do. And so, we
don't honor anything.
Well,
we should.
No, I think that there's some of it that we do honor, whether it's appropriate or not. I can't say yes or no. Because if it feels right, it feels right. What's good for me may not be good for you. What's good for you may not be good for me.
I mean, leaving gifts at all.
Oh yeah, no,
like,
just
go and pick a flower.
Just showing gratitude
for the gnomes.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah.
See, and that's where my upbringing was slightly different. I was always taught to, if I take something, I should leave something.
Exactly.
Right. But here's a point too, though. Your grandfather was Native American, yes? And in their culture, you don't do anything from nature without leaving a gratitude gift.
Yes. Next up is fire elemental, which is salamanders. That I'm just hitting the most common.
Right.
I should say.
Right.
But salamanders include a lot. And people say, well, what are salamanders? Did you ever see Harry Potter where he's talking into the fire and that's a salamander? It doesn't have to have a tail and you know.
Well, and if you want to see what a salamander looks like, another cartoon that has it in there, a salamander is Frozen 2.
Mm-hmm.
Elsa's little familiar
Yep.
is a fire salamander, and he actually lights shit on fire.
Right. So fire is passion, transformation, and raw energy, and no elemental embodies these forces better than the salamanders. These fiery beings are the spirits of flames, from the flicker of a candle to the roaring inferno of a volcano. They are intense, untamed, and full of vitality, fueling both destruction and creation in equal measure. When you feel a sudden burst of motivation or a deep desire to change your life, that's salamander energy at work. And need I say, work with these very carefully and
Again,
cautiously.
fire.
Yeah.
Danger, Will Robinson. Danger.
Because they are, I have found they
Get
are
burned.
very
Greedy.
what you ask for is what you get.
Yeah, leave it an open. If you're gonna work with any of the elements, okay, you should leave it an open-ended question. And one of the things I teach my students is when you're working with deities, elements, magic, don't be so succinct. I want a purple Camaro with a black interior. I want it to be convertible. No, I want a comfortable car that runs well and gets good gas mileage. Oh.
Now I have a wish list.
Okay, well, wish list is good, but
that's good.
Again,
yeah,
you want to leave it open because there are some of these elements, fire and air being two of them, that are very, you put a period at the end of that. So that's what you want. That's exactly what you're going to get. But they were going to give you something that not only did it meet your needs, but it was beyond it. But because you were so succinct and you put that period at the end of your statement instead of a question mark, what could you give me that would be better than that? You get stuck. And then when you do get it, you're like, this isn't what I needed.
One thing you can do if you want to be specific or something better.
Right. One of the questions that I learned in one of my healing classes through Access Consciousness was, how can it get any better than this?
That's a question.
Right. It's a question. You want to ask questions and not necessarily make statements.
Salamanders, here we go. Salamanders are not the lizard-like creatures you may imagine, but rather twisting, flickering flames constantly in motion. Mm-hmm. I mean, fire is always in motion.
Constantly.
They are the force behind inspiration, courage, and personal power. They burn away the old, clearing space for the new, whether it's an outdated belief, a bad habit, or something that no longer serves you.
Yep.
So
exactly.
Anything else you guys want to add before we move on from fire?
The season.
You're the fire sign.
I am. I'm a double fire sign. I have Leo as my sun and Aries as my rising. Fire also, they're the ones that are going to argue. Fire, Shannon's over there going, no.
Well, whether they're correct or not.
Shut up, both of you.
I'm just saying. Right?
Damn air signs. Anyway, so just kidding. Know that we're just playing. Not really. No, just kidding. Fire is, the passion. We're the ones that are going to argue. We're going to look at you and go, is that really fair? Because I'm thinking it's not. Maybe we need to revisit this. Fire has got some power behind it, but remember that it can also burn slowly. So, like, for example, speaking of elements getting out of control and what damage that they can do, like you just said, there is a city in, I believe it was Colorado. I might have the state wrong, but they had a mining town. And something in the mine caught fire.
Oh, that's back east somewhere.
And I can't remember. Maybe it's West Virginia or something like that.
I think you're closer. I know what you're talking about.
Maybe it's West Virginia. But the fire started underground and they couldn't put it out. And to this day,
they still
25 or 30 years later, underneath, there's no town there now because the fire underground is still to this day burning. Mm-hmm. And they can't figure out why it's still burning, but it destroyed a whole town. There are no houses left because the earth got so hot. It actually torched the house's foundations.
Streets are
The streets are gone.
torn up. And...
because they were trying to put the fire, but it's, so know that it can slow burn, but you have to be careful. It doesn't get out of control. As a double fire sign, I tell my students often when you're working with fire, and I don't say this rudely, I say this as a warning. Fire is a greedy bitch, and she will take whatever she can get her hands on. So make sure what you want her to get her hands on is what you give her.
Again, with all these elementals, be careful what you ask for, because you're going to get it.
And they're going to give it to you exactly as you ask for it. So just hedge, write it down before you speak it out loud. Think about, does it sound positive? Does it sound negative? Does it sound vengeful? Does it sound polite? Whatever it is.
And you have to be careful of your words. I think we talked about this before, about my student that wanted to, get to class on time, but he kept saying, I don't want to be late. I don't want to be late. I don't want to be late, all the way there. And that's what the universe heard. So he was late.
Right. Well, and
whereas if he had said, I want to get there on time.
Right. So think about how you're doing, and remember that the universe and the elements don't pay attention to negative wording. I don't want to be late. Okay. Well, we don't hear the word don't, and the word want means to lack or not have enough of. So do you really want anything, or do you desire the element to do thus and such?
Please help me get there on time.
Right. Or you can say the spell that my grandchildren say when they're tired of being in the car. Roads full, time suspends, get us quicker to our friends.
Safely.
There you go.
Let me add that word.
Get us safely to our friends. There you go.
Attuning to the elementals. This is important. Elementals are always around us, but most people go through life without ever noticing them. To truly connect with these beings, we need to slow down, open our senses and minds, and tune into the natural world. Each elemental has its own rhythm, energy, and way of communication. So working with them requires patience and a bit of practice. The key is balance.
And authority.
Developing a relationship with all four elements rather than getting stuck in just one. Hence the reason why I don't have a relationship with air.
And remember, when you're working with these entities, when you say this stuff, say it like you mean it. You don't walk up to these people and go, if you don't mind. No. I am asking for this. You say it with authority, and you communicate with authority, because if they think you're weak, the mischievous can come out with them and say, ooh, well, let's play with this.
Yeah. And the key, I know it's really hard when you live in the city to find, most people are like, I can't find these things. I live in the Pacific Northwest here. I mean, other parts of the country, I'm sorry, but the Pacific Northwest has it all. It doesn't take but a minute to find a park.
Yeah, and I was going to say,
and
you can
almost
go to any park.
Every park has some kind of water feature. So,
and even if not, you could go pull the water out of your tap.
It's just, what I'm talking about though is we've got all of these power lines and asphalt and cement and buildings, so it's difficult. But you can go out on your patio and turn it into a natural setting with plants and stones and
you make your own
feature.
You make your own atmosphere.
Yeah. So, and if you can't, then go somewhere that has it.
Right. The Japanese gardens.
Yeah, anything like that. Let's see where I forgot. Oh yeah, we already did all of that. So I have
so organized.
I am.
She's way more organized than me. What are we talking about today?
I just lost my place.
Oh crap! Okay. I did do research though.
I give it to her ahead of time so she can read through. Oh yeah, that's what we're working on.
And then I add my little. I add my little stuff so she knows.
You do. Approach elementals with respect and gratitude.
Always.
They'll make you pay for it if you don't.
Yeah, exactly. Have you ever had to pay for it?
Honestly, no, because I was taught from a
Mm,
very, very young age
because of
to
Papa.
treat anything I saw, whether or not it was really there, with respect, because you never know.
Right. You don't.
I remember
Exactly.
being 2 years old, seeing these creatures in my closet, uh, and I didn't know what they were, but they weren't scaring me. They were obviously there to protect me for some reason, and I would tell my grandfather about it, and he'd be like, "Okay, well, just be respectful, and if they do scare you, let me know."
Yep.
We'll take care of them.
Yeah, and I've never known what they were, but my best guess is they were fake.
Well, and it's like, when you hear a kid saying something's crawling out from underneath my bed, pay attention.
Yeah, because it might be.
They might have an entity in their room. They might have an elemental that's not happy, that's coming out. And kids especially can manifest entities.
And are very sensitive to all of this.
Absolutely. Shams?
And just because they're there doesn't mean they mean them harm. I think
that's a good point.
That's a really, really good point. Is because I've told friends, I've told therapists, I've told whoever, and they're like, "Oh, well, were they trying to attack you?" I was like, and I would give them the look of what the hell are you talking about?
Right?
And I was like, no, they were there to protect me, and they're my friends. And
it's because Hollywood has made entities and elementals as dangerous. Oh my God, we're all gonna die.
Yeah.
Crap. When in all actuality, they're here to heal us. They're here to help us.
Yeah.
They're here to guide us. They're here to give us information. Muses, the air, the thought, your inspirations that you get from these. Those are part of those elementals, and we don't think of them that way because we're not taught to think of them.
Now,
Right.
I personally have never seen muses, but I can feel them and I can smell them.
Oh yeah, no, I can smell when my muse smells like stargazer lilies. When I smell stargazer lilies, I know I'm going to get an idea that's just a oh my God idea.
I get chamomile and mugwort.
There you go. There you go.
And I get freesia.
Yeah.
There you go. So, and as a psychic, when it comes to that kind of things, I rely on the elementals to give me information. No, that's dangerous. You stay away from that part of the building.
That's not a good idea.
Do you really? I mean, it's like sometimes watching the paranormal investigations and there's an elemental that's wreaking havoc in the house, and to have a paranormal investigator that I am not very fond of, and I won't say his name, but he's constantly, come on, and then he wants to know why he's in the hospital.
Right. I always wondered about that too. You just ask.
If you're going to challenge elementals and then you wonder why you can't breathe, maybe you fucked around and found out that that was a really bad idea. The fact that he continues to do it and continues to complain about being sick.
That's spirits too. I mean, you're walking around with a black eye. Let's think about that. What did you say? What did you do? Yeah.
Need a steak for that, babe? Let's put a steak on that.
You cannot approach them without respect.
And if you approach them in a playful manner, understand they're going to play back. And what they think is play may not necessarily be play to a human. Because we see things and perceive things differently than the elemental does. So be careful with that.
They're not just forces of nature. They are living energies with their own consciousness and purpose, which is what we were just kind of talking about. Treat them as you would a wise teacher or an old friend. Acknowledge their presence. Thank them for their guidance, like Anya said, and always work with them in harmony rather than trying to control or manipulate their power.
Here's your warning, which is
so bad.
You try to do that, the first thing that's going to happen to you is them proving to you how much control you absolutely do not have, period, the end. They're going to smack you around. And then people are like, well, I'm not going to do that anymore. It was really scary. Well, how did you approach them? Well, I told them to get their ass over here. Well, what?
What happens when you walk up to a person and say that?
Yeah.
They'll be like, excuse me?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm looking behind myself. Who the frickety frack are you talking to, dude? Go ahead, Shan.
Yeah, it just reminded me of the last two customer service situations we ran into.
Oh my God, yes.
They were both at stores, and just the way that they started our interaction with Anya and myself, and I'm like, do you seriously talk to people like that?
I still do this thing. Did you talk to your mother like that? Well, no. Then what the hell gives you a right to talk to me like that? What? Oh God.
Don't get me started.
I know, especially with what's going on right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I've had a few run-ins the last couple of weeks, and it's like, I can't remember her name. She's a comedian, and her name is Jeannie, but I can't remember her last name.
Mm-hmm.
And she said this, and I feel the same way. And forgive me if you're a young person. I am not grouping you all as the same.
We're not stereotyping.
No.
We are making a generalization.
But, comma,
colon.
you just want to go up to some of them and gently cup their faces and say, "Are you in there?"
Yeah.
Yeah. Hello.
Did we? Well,
I realize I'm not a video game, but
yeah,
come on.
yeah, and
that's not all young people.
No, but there is a disconnect, some of it is from technology.
Yeah.
We have gotten away from nature. We have gotten away from
what
those
I was
elements.
talking about a few minutes ago with, it's kind of hard for people nowadays because, it's so much more fun to sit on TikTok all day or play video games or whatever than to go outside.
I'd rather be outside, but that's me because I'm a Gen Xer.
No, I know.
As long as it's not windy, rainy, or snowing.
Yeah, no, I don't go out. Well, I go out when it snows, but I just take 3 steps into the snow and then I take 3 steps out of the snow. Because it's snow.
And we don't drive in snow.
No. Again, some of these elements can be very dangerous.
Yes.
Ice, water, ice. That's dangerous.
When you do this, the elementals will respond, opening up new paths of wisdom, healing, and personal transformation. Hopefully, if you worded your query correctly. So working with the elements is a journey, not a destination.
No, and you're going to
always hate, I work with so-and-so all the time. I know exactly what I'm doing. I know it. I know everything about that element. Okay.
Really?
Sit back and show me. I want to see this happen.
I've been doing this for 30 years. I don't know everything about anything. So
Nope.
I'm still learning. And the minute you stop learning is the minute you die.
Yep.
At least from my point of view.
Especially working with elementals. How stupid is that to say something like that?
But to even approach elementals with that attitude.
So arrogant.
Is that right there. It's not even polite.
Arrogant.
It is extraordinarily arrogant.
Very ego driven.
That right there. Magic has no ego in it. If you're going to put ego in your magic, the elementals are going to knock you around.
Yeah.
You have to be coming from a place of non-ego. You can't.
Humbleness and
humility, humbleness, politeness, respect, reverence. We here in America do not have the same reverence for some spiritual practices as, for example, and I'm just throwing it out there, Japan.
Yeah.
Or Africa. They have some beautiful rituals in Africa and in Egypt that are just, oh my God, mind-blowing, but they're doing it with reverence. If you were to do a ritual like that and you walk in there and you're not being reverent and you're being egotistical, you're going to get knocked on your ass.
Yeah. And I'm probably going to get flack for this, but okay. But
I'm going to say it anyway.
I'm going to do it anyhow. So I've noticed, like you said, in other countries, they're very respectful of their spirituality. In the U.S., not so much. We are driven by ego so much. Somebody else comes into a new church. They don't know all the rules. Everybody's like giving them the stink eye, finding fault with them every single time rather than inviting them into the fold and helping them.
Well, and again,
it's that superiority.
And that's the arrogance. That's where that ego comes in.
Mhm.
No one is superior to anyone else. It's like what's going on right now in our country where somebody's like, well, you're illegal. There is not one being, one animal on this damn planet that is illegal. Not a fuck one. All right.
Mhm.
So for you to say that someone's illegal, okay, great. Guess what? Since someone else is illegal, you're illegal now too.
Mhm.
So we have to be that ego
And we
that
generalize more than
Yes.
any other country as well.
well, because our education system is lacking. I'm
Very.
going to leave it at that.
So each elemental offers something unique. Earth gives us strength, air gives us clarity, fire gives us passion, and water gives us flow. By attuning to all four, we create harmony within ourselves and within the world around us, which people don't understand. Why do I have to work? Why do I have to make the world good?
You live here, don't you?
Yeah.
It makes me think of Guardians of the Galaxy. Why do you want to save the universe? Because I live here.
That's right.
You know, why do you want to save the world? Because I live here.
Yeah.
I have children. I have grandchildren. They may possibly have children. And I want, I don't know, an earth for them to reside on that isn't going to kill them when they go
And
or take a drink of water.
We're coming up to Earth Day next month.
Oh, true that. April.
So why not include something? I mean, how tough is it to go for a walk and
pick up trash?
Yeah. Do something
beach cleanup.
Nice for, I love doing beach cleanup.
I love doing beach cleanup, but I will say this. There's one thing that absolutely just, oh my God, makes me so angry. Those little styrofoam balls.
Oh, I know.
Oh.
You have to go and pick up every single styrofoam ball because if you don't, the fish think that they're other fish eggs and then they eat them and then they get sick and then they die.
And
Stop
some
using styrofoam.
Actually melts when it gets wet.
Yeah.
And causes toxic goo.
Stop using, think about this. How can you honor the elements in your daily life?
And even if you only do it once a year, which I would hope that you didn't, but if you only do it once a year, it's one day a year.
Right.
And you can take an hour or two or whatever.
Well, and think about it.
Ostara or Beltane or whatever.
I was thinking
make it a part of a ritual.
Spring cleaning. We do that as a ritual. What do? We open our windows. Mm-hmm. There's air. Mm-hmm. We sweep our floors. There's earth. We brighten our home with more light. There's fire.
I do simmer pots too.
And simmer pots. That's a good one. Mm-hmm. And so that's a way of also bringing those elements into it.
Yeah.
So
remember the elementals are not just mystical beings. They are the forces of nature itself. They are in the trees and the wind, the waves, and firelight. They are in you too. By honoring them, working with them, and keeping their energies in balance, you walk the path of connection, wisdom, and transformation. Mm. The elements are always with you. All you have to do is listen.
There was a time when I was first becoming a witch, I went to a Beltane and the wind was whipping because we were in the gorge. So, of course, the wind is whipping because, gorge.
Why did you do that?
I know, right? You would wonder why we had a Beltane in the gorge. But, it was fun. We had a good time. But during those wind whipping, during the trance dancing and stuff, I kept hearing, these are the winds of change. And we had some big changes. Now, I don't remember what year it was. But the wind can have those little whispers. Mm-hmm. The earth can have little whispers. There is an elder in our community who has actually been pulled into a dream into the core of the earth. And Mama Gaia has told her, I'm dying. I need help. So if you want to work with earth, send Mama Gaia some healing. Send the healing to the core of the earth because we humans are destroying her.
Well, let me tell you about what we did one time. Remember when the big oil slick in the Gulf
Valdez
of America?
Mexico. It's the Gulf of Mexico.
No, it's not. Anyhow.
I'm not going to argue it's the Gulf of Mexico, period, the end.
No, it's America.
See that arguing thing we're talking about?
She's doing this on purpose to piss me off because she knows that I hate that.
I do too. I was being what's commonly known as a smart ass.
Yes, I know, but I love you anyway.
Anyhow, a group of us, I put it out on the internet, and a group of us went out, and all we did was walk out to the edge of the water, and we held hands and put energy in it to cleanse the water. And I mean, we couldn't go to the Gulf,
Right.
so because we live up here,
Right.
and so we did that, and it was so cool because we went there, and without explaining to anyone, other people that were walking the beach just walked up and took our hands.
Yep.
And everybody knew instinctively what we were doing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, who can beat that ritual?
No, you can't.
That's just off the cuff.
Yeah, and some of the most off the cuff in just what is it? Impulsive.
Yes.
The impulsive rituals that you have. Myself personally, I have found impulsively working with the elements have caused better results for me. Yeah. Because you're not like getting bogged down in the I need candles, God, I need tools, I have to have altars.
Right. You're being present and in the moment and authentic.
There.
And simultaneous magic, or not simultaneous, but spontaneous magic works really, really well for me personally.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, that's why when people come in here, they'll tell me their issue,
I need this and
and they'll ask me, "What do I need?" I'm like, nothing.
Yeah.
And I've had people say, "Wait a minute, you don't want to sell me anything?" I'm like, "Oh, no.
I'm not saying you don't want to sell anything.
Not what you asked. I want to sell you everything in my shop. You asked what you needed."
Yeah.
Right.
I had someone ask, "But don't you have a wand?" I was like, "I've got my hand."
I mean, wands are fabulous.
They're fabulous.
Love
and they
them.
have their place. But you don't need them.
Right. You don't need any tools. You have yourself. And that's what we did. We had found out that this happened. Just decided we're already on the beach. We're going to do this. And it was just so nice that people didn't even ask us what we were doing. They instinctively knew we were doing some kind of healing toward the ocean. And when we came out of the meditation, we looked around and it was all down. Like
I got chills.
I know.
I got goosebumps.
I know. Now that's cool.
That's magic.
Yes.
Those are
magic.
The elements reaching out with those tendrils. They use those little tendrils. Now, I will say this. If you are newer or novice to the magical world and you really want to learn about elements, I know this is going to sound weird, but this is something I do tell my students. Excuse me. If you had not had a chance to watch the cartoon, notice I'm making that very clear. It's the cartoon of The Last Airbender.
Oh, yes. That's very
You want to really know about elements. You want to really learn about how elements work. Take a gander. Watch that series because you have earthbenders, firebenders, waterbenders, and of course airbenders. And then it does. They give full explanations. And that is the Asian culture's way of seeing those elements. And so getting to know the elements more, even doing something like, for example, I know one woman who's a water sign. She's one of my best friends. She likes to go to the beach, and when it's hot enough, she likes to be buried in the sand because she can feel the push and the pull of the water because she's in the sand.
But she's also working with earth.
Right, because she's getting put into the earth
and she's
to feel that flow.
With fire because it's heating the sand. So
exactly.
Guess what she's working with. And she's breathing. So hey.
Yeah, right.
She's working with all four of them.
And the air is pushing the waves. So, think about, there are probably things that all people do every day that are honoring the element. For example, I honor him every time I make my tea in the morning. Water, heat, fire, the tea, earth, the milk. I'd say that's air, but but the air is what cools it so I can drink it.
And it's steam.
There you go. So, there are things that you're probably doing on an everyday ritualistic thing that you do every day, and you don't really. Taking a shower. How often do you call to the element of water to help wash away the old? Every time.
Or soothe your emotions.
There you go. If when I was an interpreter, and I used to do a tremendous amount of work with domestic violence survivors, and I did a lot of support groups. And so I would go home with, oh my God, stories. And I would go home, and the first thing I would do is crawl into a hot shower and scrub myself to get that energy off of me.
Yeah.
The heat would burn away the stories that did not belong to me. The water would wash away the sadness, the despair, and the healing that I could not do because it wasn't my story. So really think about how you would integrate the elements into your everyday life.
Well, before we leave, I would like to put a challenge out to the public.
Well, we have 5 minutes left, so yeah, go for it.
So the challenge is for you to write into us and tell us how you work with either one or all of the elements.
And we'll keep your names anonymous, so that way no one's giving up their magic.
You can just Susan D. Or whatever.
Or you can put your initials, SD. If you don't want to sign it, don't sign it. But
and if you want to be completely anonymous, we can make that work too.
Yeah, exactly.
But we love interaction, and we would love to know how you work with whichever element or elemental, or all the elements and elementals. Exactly. Give us a little story of anything like Anya and I just did. So there's your challenge for this month.
All right. So next month, what do we want our content to be?
Oh, I didn't even.
Don't look at me. Shay's like, don't look at me.
No, I said, why are you looking at me?
Oh, why are you looking at me? I thought maybe you had an idea. I thought maybe. I don't know. All right, well, we'll have to think
on that, but we'll definitely let you know. And when you come in, you can always check the e-board, because I usually put something on it that says, listen to Witch Whisperers, we're working on blah, 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 whatever it is.
Because right now we have the elements and the elementals up, but maybe what we can look at, I don't know. Do you want to talk about crystals next month?
Oh my gosh, that's such a vast.
Just like how to use them. Just basic ideas, maybe.
Let's think on that.
We'll think about it.
Yeah.
If you have any ideas of topics that we could use,
we love that.
Please write in. There's always a poll on Spotify. Please answer it. Engage with us. We would love to see engagement. We know people are listening because we've had lots of listeners.
Yep.
But we haven't had very much engagement. We would love some engagement.
Yeah, we've had a couple of people, a few people come in and say, hey, I'd love for you to do a podcast on blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And that's lovely. And we really appreciate that. But we would like to also know what you think about the topic that we've chosen.
Right. Is there something that we missed that you really wanted to hear about?
Yeah. Other people may work with the elements and elementals in different ways. We'd love to hear that.
Exactly. And the elementals with paranormal, like I said earlier on in the episode, was that those elementals build after time and they become more powerful and stuff like that. So maybe we'll have to do an episode on paranormal investigations.
Oh, that'd be fun.
So you want to do that next month?
We could do that.
All right. Well, look at that. We got it before we have to end.
Right.
Yeah.
Yay.
So we'll do paranormal phenomenon.
Was that fire?
Yeah, I think
that was fire.
If it wasn't fire, it was definitely air because the inspiration hit me.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about paranormal investigators. Maybe I'll see if I can find some paranormal people to give us some information or
that'd be great.
We'll figure it out.
Alrighty, thank you so much for joining us this month, and we look forward to your comments and
we'd love to hear from you. Come in and see us if you need any help or have any questions, and we look forward to hearing from you guys. And we'll talk to you next month.
Have a wonderful April.
Blessed be witches.